Ladies and gentlemen, I am super excited to bring you 3 keys to blow up 2023. It's been a great year so far, and now the calendar is rolling into the new one. And I'll tell you what, there's no one better to bring in this new year than the guy. He was a teenager making $100 a day on Fort Lauderdale Beach. Now, Eric Golden, you're in Central Florida now. But is that story true? I heard that story about you. You're making $100 a day as a teenager on Fort Lauderdale Beach.
I don't know if I qualify. First of all, thanks for letting me launch the year. I take it as a great responsibility. I promise I won't let you down. I've been thinking about this over the last month as we coordinated this at the beginning of December. But I got to tell you something. I think you've misspoke. I wasn't a teenager. I was actually 12, and I don't consider that to be a teenager until you're 13. But yeah, I lived in South Florida, about 4 miles from the beach. I used to bike or take the bus to the beach, and I would literally walk around to the visitors on Fort Lauderdale Beach, because again, they're all coming to Fort Lauderdale any time of year. I'd walk around to all of the tourists and say, hey, can I be your valet? Can I be your guide? If you need a sandwich, I'll tell you where to go. If you want me to go run and get it, if you need me to go buy some, or if you want to figure out where the least expensive flip-flops or suntan lotion, or what part of the beach is better and where there's an undertow. So I actually became a guide unofficially at 12 years old. And they'd say, well, what do we have to pay you? And I'd say, just whatever you think it's worth. I've been a believer in years that people will do what they're supposed to do when you allow them to do it. And part of what we're going to talk about today, Nick, is getting out of your own way, just doing the things that just don't take talent.
Yeah.
And if we did the things that we should do, we'll get the responses that we've always wanted.
$100 a day as a 12-year-old. I love it. All right, Eric. So now we got that out of the way. Let's begin with the end in mind. So what are the 3 keys to building success?
Well, in order to understand success, there's a couple of things I'd want everyone to understand. The first is the basics of concept of success. Success is not that difficult. If you actually ask yourself the question, where do I want to go? And where am I now? And what is one step in that direction? It is the simplest concept of success. So in other words, this is where I am. This is where I want to be. In order to get to there, I need to learn something. I need to unlearn something. I need to change something. I need to physically move somewhere. Whatever the case may be, that's the concept of success. But in order to feel good about what the model of success is, here's the 3 keys I want everybody to understand.
All right.
Number 1, success is always recognizing good early. Number 2, figuring out what to do when you recognize it. And 3, surrounding yourself with people or systems that will help you get it. So again, simply it's this: recognizing good early, knowing what to do when you find it, and surrounding yourself with people that will help you get it.
I love that. And even knowing the success principles is great, but then there's also something that you talk about, the success multiplier. So what is this success multiplier?
It's funny, as you ask me these questions, and again, each question, in my opinion, I can answer it very quickly, but I could probably spend an hour talking about each one. So I want everybody to understand, over the next few minutes, as I keep going here and then there and then there, we will bring it all together before we're done, I promise you. But there is a success multiplier. If success, again, is the combination of what we just shared, then the multiplier is this. When people sit there and say, I want to be a luxury agent, when people say, I want to make $400,000 a year, when people say, I want to be a nothing but a listing agent, whatever your goal is in real estate, I want to be a broker, whatever the goal is, and it could be a short-term goal, it could be in 2023, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is, there's 2 pieces of that equation. The first piece is, what is the likelihood that anybody does what you're about to do? If you want to break some sort of record, the likelihood is very, very little. If you want to do something that others have done, the likelihood of people doing it is very, very high. So in order for you to start any kind of concept moving towards success, you need to multiply 2 pieces. Number 1, what's the likelihood of anyone doing it? And then secondly, how well am I prepared to be able to do it? In other words, just because anyone can pass the real estate exam, How likely are you to pass the exam? Are you good at test taking? Do you memorize things quickly, even nonsensical things that you need for the real estate exam?
Yeah.
The idea of passing the test in the state of Florida is 54% of the agents that take the real estate test in Florida pass it the first time. That is a 54% likelihood. Now, multiply that towards your likelihood of passing it. And how do you accentuate that? Well, how good am I at taking tests? Can I take cram courses? Can I do it multiple times and increase my personal percentage? But understand, it's capped at 54. That is the average. So you multiply, the success multiplier is multiplying your general likelihood of anyone passing whatever test, becoming a luxury agent and killing it, making $400,000 a year, multiplied by your preparedness to make that happen.
I like how you put that into perspective, adding that you perspective into the equation. And you know, Eric, those people who understand you know that you are absolutely driven by helping people think their way to success. So what does "you're working too hard and you're thinking too much" actually mean?
It's funny, I use that as my byline in everything I do. You know, if you're working too hard, it's because you're thinking too much. Just let those words settle in, Nick.
Yeah.
If you're working too hard, generally it's because you're not thinking about the work, you're thinking about all the things related to the work. I wanted to erect a wall in my backyard, so I bought some concrete blocks.
Okay.
Once I bought the blocks, I knew I bought the right amount of blocks.
Right.
I knew I had the right mortar. I knew that the area I wanted to build the wall in was cleaned and prepared. The only thing I needed to do at that point was work. If I were thinking at any time during the work, other than thinking of the work, then I was working too hard. So if you truly want to work easily, then do all the mental gyrations. There's another way to call it. We'll call it the mental gyrations. We'll make this PG.
Right.
And once that's done, you immediately can move to the next step. And the next step is the action. Another way to do it, if you guys, because everybody likes these little tricks of the trade, think of these three words. There needs to be clarity before focus. And then there needs to be focus before execution. Clarity is the idea of setting up a wall. Focus is doing all the things to prepare for the work to set up the wall. And execution is nothing but doing the work. So when I talk about if you're working too hard, you're thinking too much, what that means is you keep re-engaging the questioning process when you should actually just be focused on doing the work. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And I love how you put that with just as simple as building the wall. If you're doing anything at that point, once you have all the materials, you have everything that you need besides building the wall, then you're thinking too much and you're working too hard. I think that
you're dreaming about the outcome is okay.
Yeah.
But dreaming and thinking about the work is not the right idea. You want to be thinking about doing the work. When you said originally that you know, if you get the mindset right, the rest takes care of itself. No doubt you've got to create the activity. But no one is going to fully be engaged in the activity if they're questioning the outcome or the process.
You know, it sounds similar to there are times where I've created problems that didn't exist or solved problems that didn't exist. And when I went to take the action, new problems popped up anyways. So I spent a lot of time thinking too much on problems that never even happened. Is that similar to what you're referring to?
Well, there's a statistic for that. It's either depending on who you go to for the statistic.
Yeah.
It's either 82% or more realistically, the way I believe it, 87% of the questions you're asking in your mind never occurred.
Wow.
So why don't you just save that gray matter, get more work done, lose less energy thinking about what could go wrong, and use all that pent-up energy when something does.
So now that we know building success is recognition, strategy, and association. What are the action keys to succeeding?
Well, I come from a marketing background. Well, I come from an engineering background, but with a marketing focus. And so I believe everything in life is marketing. I don't believe salespeople are selling. I think salespeople are marketing, because the right ideas, you're always looking for the right prospect. And if you're marketing for the right prospect, you're never going to sell someone anything, because you found the right prospect. So in everything we do, let's pretend we're talking to agents that want to sell more real estate. Now, let everybody understand something right up front.
Right.
Real estate agents only get paid to do three things. We get paid to list homes. Yes, they have to sell, but we really get paid in the listing process. We get paid showing homes. And we also, Nick, get paid negotiating contracts.
Yep.
Anything else we do in real estate, and there's a lot of other things, is a substructure or the architecture of the three things I just referenced.
Mm-hmm.
So if the goal in anything in real estate, and it should be, would be, I want to list more, show more, and negotiate more, then here is the concept, the working principle of success.
Yeah.
Number one, who is my client? Number two, where do they locate themselves? Where do I find them? And number three, what do I say or do to interrupt them? So let me put that in real world. If you're looking for listings, then you will market yourself in an area where people who might, and I don't mean geographic area, I mean social media area, physical location area, where you potentially can get in front of people who are most likely to list. One example of that would be probate. Now, probate's its own separate thing, but if you get in front of attorneys, or if you market yourself to people that are elderly, you are more likely to be talking to your audience. So number one, you've listed people that are dying, people that are dead.
Yeah.
That is who I'm looking for. That's my target. Number two, where do they associate? Where do they live? They live in places that are 55 and over, and they live in probate, in realtors, in lawyers' offices.
Yeah.
So understanding who you're looking for, then understanding where they resonate, where they are physically and in mindset. It could be on Facebook, it could be on Instagram, but then you've got to interrupt them. And this is where people make success very difficult. Think about it as simply as this. If I wanted a first-time home buyer, that's who I want, then I'm not going to worry about marketing to people that already own homes. Now, can you get some of those? You can. But you should develop a different mindset or funnel for that. If you're going after first-time home buyers, who am I going after? First-time home buyers. Where are they? Apartment complexes. Oh, no, there's other places, but they are in apartment complexes.
Yeah.
How do you interrupt them? Rent to own? Oh, Eric, are there other ways? Of course there are. I'm not going to do all the heavy lifting for the people that are watching or listening, but I want you to understand that the method of marketing is the ease into success. And if you will constantly ask yourself, who am I looking for? Where do they locate themselves? It could be, again, the right post, the right ad, the right article or blog or vlog, the right video. It could be flyers around the right neighborhood, door hangers. It could be signs. It could be, oh my God, get me talking about farming and you'll never lose me. But the idea behind it is, who am I looking for? Where are they? And what do I do to interrupt them?
Man, if you guys are you guys are watching this, taking notes, don't overcomplicate the notes. Keep it that simple. Who are they? Who are they?
Where are they? And how do I get them to look at me?
Thank you. How do I get them to look at me? How do I interrupt them? And something that we hear a lot, I've heard this a lot, I'm sure a lot of people have, is success leave clues. But I want to know, what does this phrase mean to you?
I'm going to boil it down for the good folks that are watching me. Here's what it means to me. I have become successful in certain areas of my life because I mirrored the things I was able to do
Mm.
from the people I saw succeeding. I'm going to repeat that. And I want people, if you're listening on audio, to re-listen to this piece. The reason I've become successful in the areas of my life that I am successful is I've mirrored the people that have been successful in those areas in the ways that I can.
Mm.
Here's the biggest problem with success when it comes to success leaving clues. Most people come up with the excuse before the habit.
Mm.
In other words, life is habits. We're going to talk more about that as we go through the rest of the questions.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem with most people is when you look at someone more successful than you, and you should always be looking at yourself as people more successful than you, not competing with them, but comparing with them.
Mm.
And asking yourself, when I look at someone more successful in an area I want to be more successful in, I ask myself these questions. What are the things they are doing that I can do? And what are the things that they are doing that I can't probably do?
Yeah.
And then I begin to realize that if I just did the things that I am capable of doing, I'd probably be as successful as they are. And so when success leaves clues in my brain, here's what it means. To close this question up in a nice, perfect package for the people. I'm going to quit giving myself excuses when I look at someone, compare myself to someone doing better than me by looking at the things they're doing that I can't. And I'm going to start taking from them the things they're doing that I can.
You know, Eric, and let's boil it down and make it simple for these good folks. How should they be making this transition into 2023?
If you loved what happened in 2022, you can't relive it. Here's why. You can do the exact same things you did last year, but the market is.
Yeah.
So whether we like it or not, we cannot duplicate our effort in 2022 and get a reliable example of what we should expect.
Market has changed. Yeah.
So here's what we have to do. We have to decide that we have to draw a line in the sand. My favorite example in doing anything is when you have a problem, draw a line in the sand, step across and say, I don't have that problem anymore. Now, we're going to get to the reasons why that problem will come back in your life. But for this question alone, what do I do in order to make it easy going into 2023? I draw a line, I step across, and I ask myself these questions.
Okay.
What did I do in 2022 that I want to do again? And what was I doing in 2023 that I want to stop doing? Which will then open up a window of things I can start doing that I wasn't doing at all. Understand the steps. What are the things I did in the last year of my life professionally that I want to continue to do? What are the steps in things I did over the last professional year of my life that I want to stop doing, which will create a hole in my schedule, a hole in my habits, a hole in my daily operation, that'll allow me to then say, what do I need to ask of the previous question? What successful principles do I see that I haven't been doing, that I'm capable of doing, that I can stick in for the things I'm going to leave behind in 2022? Does that make sense, Nick?
Absolutely. And you know, one of my mentors talked about making a stop doing list, because sometimes we want to keep doing more and more, but if we never make that list of things we got to stop doing, that's when realtors get overwhelmed and they say there's not enough time in a day, or they end up dropping the ball and saying it doesn't work. I love how you put that in there as the step 2 is, what am I going to be taking off this list to make room for the new that's coming in?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And you know, this kind of leads into my next question for you is, what are most people doing wrong when running their real estate business?
One of my favorite questions. And what everyone is doing wrong.
Yeah.
Is there are some key activities that we need to do as realtors. I'm not going to go through them. You've got plenty of speakers every other week. By the way, this is a great platform, not only for you and the people that are learning, but even the agents that are listening. Get all your friends to listen. This is a great platform every other week on Thursday in order for everybody to be able to understand the concepts, the basics. How do I do open houses? How do I do probate? How do I manage my schedule? How do I do sphere of influence? but I want to keep it simple for everybody.
Yeah,
I want you to understand the biggest single problem we have is there are specific tasks we have to do as realtors. And watch this, something you've never heard before. I don't care how many speeches you've been to. I don't care how many Ferry and Cardone and Robbins events you've been to. They've never talked about this. Okay, this is this is the golden nugget. Ready? Yeah. You need to match those activities to the time of day that's best for you to do those. The biggest problem agents have is they take their best part of the day, and they do their secondary or third value programming or events or tasks. You know when you're up. You know when the normal part of your day or your week is best. You're a morning person. You're right before lunch person. You're right after lunch person. You're an early evening person. Well, match that with the most important activity that you can do at that day. So let me draw your schedule. If you were drawing a schedule for 2023, if you were learning how Eric would draw a schedule for 2023, and I promise you, my schedule produces more results than 99.9% of the people, because I do exactly what I'm about to share right now. Golden nugget number 2. I open my calendar and I look and I say, wow, I got 168 hours this week. And for me, the least important 2 things on that calendar is sleep and eat. Now, don't misunderstand. I will have plenty of sleep this week. And I will get plenty of food. Look at me. Right? I do a lot of physical activity, a lot of sports, a lot of enjoyable things. I'm always out and doing things. So I like to eat. I'm not going to tell you you're not going to get sleep or you're not going to eat like most agents don't get. But I decide that I'm going to put that in after I put in the most important tasks in my calendar. So I ask myself next, when am I best? And for me, I am best from about 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock and about 4 o'clock till 7 o'clock. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I'm barely any good on a Friday, and don't ask for me to do stuff on Saturday or Sunday. Here's what I found. If I could prioritize what I put in those slots, and then I put in, ready? When I'm going to sleep, when I'm going to do personal things that I want to do for myself, my family, my life, I then decided I would put all my other real estate activities everywhere else. I'm going to repeat this for you. When is my best time? What is your best time? What activities do I want to put during those times? Then, how much sleep do I want? Perfect. Do I have any food times that I would like to eat based on my schedule? Perfect. Do I have any family things I'd like to fit in during a day or during a week based on the schedule? Perfect. And you will, out of the 168 hours, I promise you, there'll be 30 more hours on your calendar to stuff all the other things in. There's plenty of time in your schedule. It's sort of like a buddy of mine named Ryan does something called the law of the rocks. In fact, he calls it the law of the big rocks. You've got a tub, and in that tub, think about it this way. You can put in big rocks, pebbles, sand, or water. Think of your most important real estate activities as big rocks. Think about the things you want to accomplish this week personally as sand. Then think of next all of the things that you still need to carry through as sand, pebbles, sand, and then lastly, all the other things that just have to get done, water. Here's the problem. Most of us, we're constantly filling our tub with water and sand, looking at the big rock. Right? Does that right? You follow
Oh,
that?
that is absolutely right. And I noticed where you were going with that. And it's, yeah. And then by the time you put the rocks in, all the water overflows and like it's too
Exactly.
much.
There's no room. So here's the idea. Sitting down over the next couple of days and asking yourself, what are the most important activities I have to get done each week?
Yeah.
Big rocks. What are the things that still need to get done? Sleeping, eating, some family activities. Pebbles. What are things that are tying that together? Well, I've got to go to this meeting and I got to make sure I'm at that meeting. And I've got to make sure that I do some training time to get myself set up for the future. Great. Everything else is water.
Yeah.
30 hours a week. I promise you, if you do this, you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh out loud. If you do what I just asked you, you're literally going to be at 10 o'clock at night drawing that. What's my big rocks? What's my pebbles? What's my sand? Oh, everything else is water. And then you're going to sit there and laugh out loud going, he was right. There's 30 hours left.
And Eric, this all sounds great, but how do you stop doing the things that aren't working and start doing the things that are most important?
Well, recognition of what's important is the biggest problem. Remember, clarity, focus, and execution.
Yeah.
So how do you get clear on something? Clarity comes from simplicity, Nick. Clarity comes from, I understand the mission. There's a reason why we were in and out of Iraq in weeks, days, and we were in Vietnam for decades. Because everyone from top to bottom knew exactly what we were doing a number of years ago. We were going to get Hussein out of Iraq. That's what we were doing. And once that happened, done. In Vietnam, it was different.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to understand this. And I didn't try to bring up a war reference, but I guess I did. Once you're clear on what you're doing, everything feels better. And let's be honest, life is about how you feel. So you've got to learn to prioritize. And the best way to prioritize, I've learned, now you may have another way or a better way, but this one works for those of you that don't know how to prioritize. And by the way, prioritization done right leads to you not having procrastination. The biggest problem with everyone is procrastination. There's a reason why we're procrastinators. And the reason we're procrastinators is because we, ready?
Yep.
Can. Because we can put off till tomorrow something, and it doesn't really have a direct effect on us tomorrow.
Right.
Some of us are so bad, we say to ourselves, why put off till tomorrow what we could put off till next month?
Right.
But I want you to understand, if you'll learn, as I've done with every other question, this simple technique, your life, in every aspect of your life, every aspect will change. I read a study once about billionaires, and they were asked this question. If they could write on the back of a postage stamp the real key to winning or success, the one that I took away, that I remember, and I sort of follow, and I've been following for the better part of 4 decades, is this one. On the back of a postage stamp, just think this. Make a list. Prioritize the list. And then do the list. Isn't that really clarity, focus, and execution?
So why again do most people struggle with even the most basic success principles?
Because we're all susceptible to our habits.
Yeah.
We're at the beginning of the year, which means most everyone is going to have some physical projection of what they want. They're going to make a commitment for the year.
Yeah.
Which we know based on study, by January 17th, I think 93% of everybody in the world has already failed on their New Year's resolution. So why do diets initially fail? A whole nother conversation of why they long-term fail. But because diets are made based on a commitment and willpower, and weekends, beer, birthday cake, they, at the moment, they trump willpower. See, if you're asking yourself when you're making the commitment Can I beat the birthday blues? Can I beat cake? Can I beat beer? The answer is yeah, when you're making the commitment.
Yeah.
But 3 days later, you're not standing on the scale or looking in the mirror naked when the beer comes across your counter and you grab it. So
Yeah.
the biggest problem we have is our habits will continue to deliver 99% of what we used to get, then 98%. Remember, our habits are depleting because our comfort is increasing. And so what you have to understand about habits is watch this, you've never heard this before either. Habits are easy to break if you know how to break them.
No, I have not heard that before.
So we have a habit loop within us.
Okay.
And that habit loop works with 3 basic principles. Number 1, there's a cue. Something makes us want to do something. Number 2, there's a routine that we automatically follow. It's subconscious, it's not conscious. And number 3, there's a reward we get. Sometimes the reward is positive. Sometimes it's negative. But as Tony Robbins talks about, it is significance either way. You know that if you do something, you'll probably do it the same way that you did it last time, and you'll probably get the result that you got last time. So if you want to change a habit, the cue is always the same. What changes is the initial step on the routine. So here's an example.
Okay.
For someone that wants to quit smoking,
Yeah.
here's what happens. All of a sudden, something happens and your brain says, I want a cigarette.
Yep.
For people that want to lose weight, all of a sudden, something comes across them and they go, I want to eat that. Not I want to eat something, but I want to eat that, and I shouldn't be eating that. Because the cue will always deliver the normal routine. So what you've got to do is interrupt it. So here's the way I interrupt it. Now, here's the problem, Nick.
All right.
Some of the people I'm talking to right now make 100 grand. Some people I'm talking to make over $1 million.
Yeah.
And you're going to think you're better than what I'm about to tell you. And here's the answer. You're not. Your habits will get you every time.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, though, is the 100,000 plus or the million plus will actually do what I'm about to say more than the people that make less than 100 grand. And here's why. Because the people that are making more money generally have learned how to trump their habits. And they've done it in a way that's much more difficult than what I'm about to say. Here's how you do it. One of the most universal smells in the world is cinnamon. Everybody knows the smell. Nick, you know that smell?
Absolutely know it. I'm thinking of Cinnabon.
Next time
you walk into any mall or airport, you have that Cinnabon cinnamon smell in the air. Absolutely.
Let me ask you this question. If I say the word Cinnabon, do you already smell it right now?
Already smell it. Yep.
Do you know why you already smell it? Because at one point, you walked through a Cinnabon area and you smelled cinnamon. And so now every time you smell cinnamon, it brings you back to a Cinnabon area. It reversed it on you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use one of the most powerful smells to disrupt every routine you have. It works for all of them. The next time you get a cue and it immediately goes to the negative routine in your mind, I want you to think of cinnamon. Immediately, your brain will move away from what it was thinking of, and you now, at this moment, have to remember to replace it with something else. So on a diet, trying to lose weight, you go, I want to eat that. Cinnamon. Oh, okay. I love that smell. And immediately replace it with a bad example, but a celery stick with tuna fish. Right? And you're going to sit there and say, well, I don't really want a celery stick with tuna fish. But the answer is this. Once you break the routine, you will get that routine less and less, allowing you to make a routine change, delivering a better reward. Cinnamon is the key. You've got to learn instantaneously. Cue, cinnamon, what do I replace it with? Because your brain will only Think of one thing at a time. And believe it or not, once you get in the habit of thinking carrot, celery with tuna fish, believe it or not, as much as you don't want to hear it, it'll replace the feeling or desire for something you don't want.
Oh man, I'm using that this year. I'm breaking some habits, Eric.
It works.
Yeah, I'm breaking some habits.
Let's use it in real estate.
All right, let's use it. What do you got?
I'm gonna go into a training that I don't really want to go into.
Yeah.
Anybody done that? Of course we all have.
Anytime.
Immediately I go cinnamon and I go, I'm gonna learn two things in this. Because I know this, if I'm gonna spend an hour and I learn two things in that hour, it was better than me not going to that class. And you know what's better than that? I don't want you working too hard because you're thinking too much. If you go into the class and you go in with the concept, I don't want to be here, change that concept to, I don't, cinnamon. Oh man, what a great smell. You know what? I'm going to learn two things.
I'm going to learn two things.
Ta-da. Oh, I'm going to make calls. Expireds, FISBOs. If you've ever done that, nobody really wants to do that. I'm not going to lie to you and say I don't want to, that I want to do it. But here's the difference between me and you. I don't not want to do it.
Right.
Because here's what I do. Anytime I'm about to make any kind of call I don't want to make, I don't care who it's to and what it's to. Here's what I do. Instantaneously, I've trained myself to do this, and it's made my life incredibly better. Immediately I go, once I go up, making a call, up, negative thought, cinnamon. Oh my God, you know what? This is going to be better once the call is over. Let me get to it.
Yep.
This is going to be better once the call's over. Let me get to it. And I immediately go right to the call, knowing I'm just waiting for the end of the call.
Yep.
I've been doing that so long, there isn't a single call I ever have problems making.
Yeah.
Do I want to make the call? No. But I also no longer don't want to. There's no negative emotion attached to it.
I love it. And you've developed a model and written a book about getting results. So can you please tell us how the results model works?
You know what? I think I've sent you a slide on that. Would you be kind enough to pop that on if you can?
Absolutely.
And understand that. So I believe, let's do this in reverse. Everything we've ever done in our life where we have consistent results, Nick, we went through a phase of improvement. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't go through a phase of improvement if we didn't have regular activity that continued to fail, that made us recognize, oh, I'm doing this, watch this, habitually. And it keeps leading to the wrong result. You need to be in activity long enough to fail long enough in order to get improvement so you can eventually have the right results long-standing. Now, here's the biggest problem, Nick. Most people in everything, especially as realtors, we spend time on the less important things, the less priority things, in order to get us away, believe it or not, from the improvement phase. We do enough activity where we're not saying, I am not successful. Yeah. You have to come to a point where you say, there's an aspect of what I'm doing that isn't working. And you got to do it long enough to remind yourself, yep, it's not working, because it's the only way it'll humble you long enough, ready, to change your habit loop. And so most people are never consistently in activity. And let me tell you why. Because most people daily, momentarily, and every hour, after every meal, you go, okay, let me get it going again. Right? We all know the feeling. It always starts with a sigh. It's like it goes,
shoulders up.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like you said, shoulders up. All right, let's do this again.
By the way, the minute I go to a sigh, I'm already negative. I immediately think, based on the last question, to cinnamon, and I go, I'm going to attack. Yeah. Now, let's start on the left side now. Yeah. Everything in life that you will accomplish that you've not accomplished before. Let me say that again. If you want to do something new, it is born in the dream and belief section of your life. You all of a sudden say to yourself, I want to sell more houses than I've ever sold before. Right. The next thing you say is, oh man, that's good. I'd make more money. If I made that money, oh God, I'd have a better life. And by the way, let me let everyone know, more money normally means better life. I'm going to debunk this concept that more money it doesn't make you happy. No, less money definitely makes you miserable. Let's remind ourselves of that. We got into real estate because we know it's flexible hours and we can make an unlimited amount of money. But the good folks that are listening to this, they realize it's 24 hours a day and they've not hit that pay dirt yet. That's why they come to this training. So let me explain this. Every new thing you want to change starts with a dream. You not only need to know what you want, but you need to know why you want it. But that is the goal, the dream.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't move ahead unless we have enough belief that we can achieve it. So we never get to the right side of the equation, Nick, if we never satisfy the left side of the equation. The left side satisfied by doing this. I want to double my numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how to do it. My belief goes to shit. It's no longer good.
Yeah.
Right. So no, I won't become urgent because I don't believe I can do what I just thought I wanted to do. And what does your habit do? Oh, you're okay. You got through 2022 okay. You'll get through 2023 okay. Here's the truth. Urgency, the most important thing you're going to learn from this model is urgency is not something you decide upon. Yeah. It's a byproduct of a properly balanced dream and belief. All of a sudden you say, I want to
say that again, Eric. I thought that was really important that what you said about urgency there.
Urgency is a byproduct. And here's the coolest part about urgency. If you hit urgency well, it will propel you to activity. If you hit urgency weakly, it'll back you to the left every time. Here's what I mean by that. If all of a sudden you say, I'm going to make 100 calls to expireds. I'm going to go door knock. I'm going to go do something that we all know produces results, but none of us want to do it. What we have to do is get enough belief that it'll work. So we have to learn from the guru or a coach how to do it. And the more we learn, the more we understand if I do it this way, I have more confidence that it's going to result in the right response. And the more confidence you have, the more urgency you have, and the longer you'll stay in that phase. But if it doesn't spit you out to activity, it'll spit you out every time to, I don't believe it. And then what it feels like is not, I don't believe it, because nobody wants to denigrate themselves. What it'll feel like is, yeah, I guess I don't really need double my numbers. If I just did another 3, if I just did another 5, anybody ever feel like that? Of course, everybody feels like that. That is, ready? That's living on the left side. I'm not saying that politically. I'm purely saying that in the model.
Right.
The only way you'll ever get to results is to have enough belief that you can propel yourself through urgency to activity and stay in activity long enough to be able to be improved. That's the model. That's the way I see it. And does it make sense, or do you want more clarification?
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I love that what you said there, that urgency is the byproduct of your dream and belief. And that was a really big takeaway for me on that one. What challenges should people expect when applying the success principles?
When people think about success or improvement, the first thing that I recommend everybody understand is everything happens between now and freedom. You can prepare for things, but you can't prepare for everything. So what should you prepare for? Here's what you should prepare for. You should prepare for everything you know would normally happen.
Yeah.
And then expect things that wouldn't normally happen. And one of the things you should expect that wouldn't normally happen is that even something you've prepared for, you don't respond properly.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that again.
Wow.
The first thing you should do is realize anytime you're going to undertake anything new, that everything happens between now and freedom. That's number one. Here's number two. The first thing that's going to happen between now and freedom is you're not as prepared as much as you thought you were for something you were already prepared for.
Yeah.
But the third thing that's going to happen is you're then going to get some stuff you weren't prepared for. So the biggest, it's like a CRM. It's like a CRM. What's a CRM's job?
Yeah.
A CRM's job is to warm your existing relationships. So when one of your relationships thinks of real estate, they think of you. But if you want to attach lead generation to a CRM, then the way you need to think about that is you're not warming people you don't know. So the best CRM is combined with a lead gen platform. It's together. And when you bring someone in new, it automatically starts to warm them.
Yeah.
So when it comes to everything happening between now and freedom, I want you to think of it this way. You are aware of all the people you already know. You probably know enough about social media or are learning where you can keep them warm. But you're going to find out some of the things you've learned don't work. That's similar. That's similar to being prepared to go make 100 calls, and some things you thought would work wouldn't.
Right.
But the other element is the lead gen platform. There are things you're not experiencing, things you didn't prepare for. And so you have to learn to just accept what comes in and use every new experience as a learning experience. When I first learned how to attract or recruit agents, which is one of the things that I've specialized in for 40 years.
Yeah.
What I learned, and by the way, it's the same thing with clients.
Yeah.
How I attract agents is the same way I attract clients. I do it by recognizing who I'm looking for, where are they, and then interrupting them some way. But the one thing I learned first is I can only be so prepared when dealing with humans. The coolest thing about real estate is unlimited income.
Right.
The biggest problem with real estate is you have to go through humans to get it.
Right.
So the only human I really can control is this one.
Right.
And so I'm going to prepare myself for what I'm supposed to prepare myself for. And then I'm going to prepare myself understanding that even though I'm prepared, it may not be prepared enough. And then I'm going to prepare myself for things knowing I'm going to encounter things that I don't normally know how to handle. And I'm going to use those experiences to learn how to handle it before I expect much of myself.
Yeah.
That's a lot of 1, 2, 3, but Nick, does it make sense?
It makes sense. And I just want you to clarify a little bit too, because you know what you said is, am I thinking too much? And like what you're going through, like prepare for this, prepare for the next step. How often is that like an everyday thing that they're preparing? I just want to make sure that the people on here listening aren't going out there, they don't over complicate this part of the process and overthink it, which holds them back from action.
Okay. As a public speaker, one of the reasons I have been asked so many times to speak, I believe, is because I do something I give myself permission that other people don't give themselves permission for.
Okay.
If you are an accomplished realtor, I'm giving you permission to do what I'm about to say. If you are not an accomplished realtor, I'm going to recommend you don't use this right away. You guys determine whether you feel you're accomplished or not. But here's what I'm going to recommend. The minute you decide I'm going to say what I'm thinking, rather than I'm going to think what to say, life gets easier. I'm going to say it again. As a speaker, even as you're asking me questions, I'm not thinking about what to say.
Right, right.
I'm going to say what I'm thinking. And if I say it wrong, I will learn how to say it right the next time. It is much easier, and you will no longer be working too hard because you're thinking too much, if you just answer every question based on what you already know. And if it doesn't come out effortlessly, then you're not improved enough. But you should also expect that sometimes you're going to say things that aren't right. It's okay. Do you think you're going to go through the next 2023 without saying anything that's not right? Of course you're going to say things that are not right. So why don't we own it and do it?
Yeah.
So again, to be more specific, I believe that most of us are not achieving things even at the level we are capable without learning a new thing, because quite honestly, we're not letting ourselves become who we presently are.
Yeah.
We are too worried about what people think. One of the trainings I've been through, it's great training I believe in, is a concept that says in everything we do, we're always constantly trying to look good or avoid looking bad. As you're interviewing me today,
yeah,
everything I'm saying, there is a little guy on my shoulder that's saying, are you looking good? You better not look bad.
Yeah.
And the truth is, sometimes I've stuttered, sometimes I've crossed words, sometimes I've actually said a word and I meant something else. And I know I've been doing it, but I'm not worried about doing that because everything's going to happen between now and freedom.
Yeah.
And I know the only way I can truly increase my skill is by freely letting me speak. You know, we talk about this constantly. We say self-talk is the most important talk. Well, don't think about what to say to yourself. Just flip and say it. I know I'm awesome. I know I'm attractive.
Right.
I know I'm good at real estate. I mean, I've owned 2 brokerages. I've flipped 300 plus houses.
Yeah.
I know I'm good with agents.
Yeah.
And even if there's agents out there that think I'm not good with them, that's on them.
I love it.
Because I own who I am. And if you're an accomplished agent, just own it. And by owning it, you will learn where you need to improve. Right now, most of you are still thinking too much before you answer anything. And by doing that, do you really know what you really know? Try just free it for a while. Just when people ask you, how you feeling? You know what? I'm really feeling pretty good today. Weather's perfect. And you know what? Life sucks today. I feel horrible. Oh, but what are they going to think of me? Here's what they're going to think. You're having a bad day. You are. If you don't like saying it to someone else, change your flipping day.
Yeah.
But in this section, I'd recommend everybody just start owning it.
I love that. And it's just some will, some won't. So what? Just keep moving. Yeah. And you referenced surrounding yourself with the right people. But how do you know who the right people are and where do you find them?
Really easy. Right now I'm speaking, we're 40 minutes into a conversation.
Right.
And there's people listening right now that are going, man, I love this.
Yeah.
There's oxygen in your tank. Yeah. As I talk, you're feeling, wow. I'm a person you should surround yourself with. I'm a type that you should surround yourself with.
Yeah.
If you're talking to someone or listening to someone and it's like the air's coming out of the room, they're not one to surround yourself with. Again, quit thinking too much.
Yes.
It makes you work too hard.
I love that. And Eric, that was a lot of fun. And I'll tell you what, you've delivered some incredible content, some great nuggets. What else would you like to say regarding 2023?
Well, it's actually the last thing I want to say. I've never closed a talk or closed an interview with this, Nick. Again, thanks so much for having me here. But here's the thing. I referenced it earlier, but I want to end with this. We started with the concept at the very beginning of the 3 keys, and the 3 keys are the 3 keys.
Yeah.
Right. Success really is recognizing good early, knowing what to do when you find it, and surrounding yourself with people to help you get it. Yeah. And the principle really of success is really that simple. And how do you accomplish that? Well, you accomplish that by deciding where you are and where you want to go and taking one step in that direction.
Yeah.
And if you're dealing with people, how do you do that? Well, you decide who you're looking for, decide where are they, and then you decide how to interrupt them. But none of that will work if you don't take the final piece of this equation. Because I believe, and I really believe this,
yeah,
I believe most everybody in the world right now can succeed beyond what they really want out of life by not having to learn anything new. What you got to do is unlearn.
Mm.
And when I say unlearn,
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing things right now that aren't producing the results that you want. Unlearn to do those things. And it's hard to unlearn things. So it's easier to do what I'm about to leave you with.
All right.
It's easier to just decide to do this. If I had a mantra for 2023 for all of you, here's what it would be. From today until December 31st of next year, 2023, or this year, if you listen to this in 2023.
Right.
Between now and December 31st, 2023, do the things that don't take talent. Do everything you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Do it when it's supposed to be done. And do it the best you can do it without worrying about the outcome, and you'll be the biggest flipping success you've ever been. Do the things that don't take talent and expect to win. If you do those two things together, you will.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us here today. I can't tell you how many nuggets that I was able to get personally. I know the people out there were able to get them as well. Again, guys, somebody invited you to this, whether it was the recording or whether it was live. Somebody invited you to this. Make sure you reach out to them and thank them. Eric, thank you so much for meeting with us here today. I know other people have asked us about the book, so make sure you guys follow Eric. Meet Eric Golden. If you message him on Instagram, he'll be able to message you back and possibly be able to get you one of those books delivered right to you. Make sure you message him if you want Eric's book. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, Eric. And whoever invited you guys, make sure you reach out to them and give them a big thank you for giving you the 3 keys to blow up 2023.